Chapter 17. Lin Ruoxi untied her bunned-up hair and let the soft and smooth hair fall on her incomparably beautiful and tender face. However, on that beautiful face was a pale and exhausted expression that arouses pity for her. Watching Yang Chen enter, Lin Ruoxi raised her head with complicated emotions. She did not ask how Yang Chen handled Lin Kun, and instead showed a smile of self-ridicule. I've become a joke to you, that's right. I have such a father, I have such a joke of a family. Do you find me very pitiful, or you sympathizing with me in your heart? Do not sympathize with me. I do not need anybody's cheap sympathy, especially yours. Who says I pity you? Yang Chen laughed, drew out a cigarette from his pocket, and enjoyed a breath of smoke. You're not allowed to smoke in front of me. Lin Ruoxi frowned, and unhappily waved her hand to dissipate the smoke in front of her, a deaf ear to her, and lied on the big sofa at the side, raised his head to smoke and said, I just want to warn you, not to show me such a pitiful look. At the very least, you know who your parents are, and you have received love from your elders before. Although your family is not that warm, but at least you have a family. Also, you're born this beautiful, to the point of being the subject of people's attention wherever you go, unworried about food or clothes since birth, driving luxury cars at such a young age, you have all that you want. It is impossible for you to understand, someone who does not even know who his parents are, or where he is even from, someone who has nothing, and how that would feel. Suddenly hearing such words, Lin Ruoxi is stunned. For the first time, Lin Ruoxi seriously gazed into Yang Chen's pair of eyes. Those eyes revealed melancholy and loneliness, making Lin Ruoxi's heart unconsciously clench itself. Yang Chen did not stop there. With a soft voice as if he was speaking to himself, he said, Since young you're always alone, when hungry, when cold, when bullied, when beat up, all alone. Without a father or mother, no family, no brothers or sisters, not even friends. To survive, you fight till you're bleeding all over just for moldy biscuit. To fill up the stomach, you eat grass and tree barks till your intestines bleed. Nobody would care about your life, nobody would pity you, because you are just a pathetic life form abandoned by the world. Even a domestically raised dog has a higher status than you. Listening to the man's low and hoarse narrative, Lin Ruoxi's eyes turned red again, not for herself, but for that pathetic life form. I'm sorry, Lin Ruoxi lowered her head, and softly said, I didn't know your childhood was so tough. Yang Chen lowered his head, and gradually revealed that usual undisciplined smile, My good wife, I made it up, you actually believed it. You, Lin Ruoxi raised her head, she was just feeling sad for him, then this rogue actually said he made it up. Ruoxi immediately turned angry, how can you be like that? Hee, look at you, this angry face is so much more beautiful than the crying face you had earlier. Yang Chen praised. Lin Ruoxi felt warmth in her heart. She understood that Yang Chen did it to divert her attention and clear away the unhappiness, but she was unable to say any words of gratitude. She looked at Yang Chen as if nothing happened. Since you were lying to me, then where are? Yang Chen's two fingers toyed around with the cigarette butt, and he plainly smiled. There was one thing I did not lie to you about previously. I really do not know who my parents are. I was separated from them before I was 5 years old. This name is all I could remember. I'm an orphan. Hearing Yang Chen casually mention that he is an orphan, Lin Ruoxi felt sour in her heart. She suddenly thought of consoling him, yet doesn't know how to. Struggling internally, she nodded, then remained silent. After the two shared silence for a while, Lin Ruoxi finally spoke, Yang Chen, there are some things I need to make clear to you. After all, we signed a contract, you have the right to know the reasons this situation came to be. Yang Chen frowned and said, Are you talking about the matter regarding that stupid pig of a father forcing you to marry? You are not allowed to call my father a stupid pig. Lin Ruoxi was a little peeved. If he is a pig, then ain't I also a pig? My family's little Ruoxi is so pretty, even if she is a pig she would be the cute and sweet-smelling kind. You are the pig. Lin Ruoxi rolled her eyes. Without any anger, she returned to the original topic saying, My father holds 30% of the company's stocks, and is a major shareholder, second only to me. But this isn't the main point. After all, before my granny passed on, she handed 60% of the stocks over to me. I have absolute control over the company. However, in my father's hands, there is the ownership of an old villa. Is that old villa important to you? Yang Chen doubtfully asked. Extremely important.
Lin Ruoxi's eyes revealed an expression of beautiful reminiscence. In my childhood,
there was only my granny and mother to accompany me, I grew up there. My mom and dad's marriage was merely for money and profit. My dad didn't love my mom. He is a playboy, up till now he is still the same. After saying all this, Lin Ruoxi's eyes showed traces of abhorrence. Although he is never at home from day to night, he is still the owner of the house. Naturally, when Granny passed on, he never allowed me to return, and because he lives a life of debauchery, his finances are nearly depleted, and he's preparing to sell off the villa. What does this have to do with our marriage? Yang Chen boringly asked.
Lin Ruoxi
coldly rolled her eyes at Yang Chen. I want to take back the villa from him, but he isn't willing to give it to me. I offered much higher than the market price, and he still isn't willing to sell it to me. He only has one condition, which is to have me marry Shu family's young master. He clearly has received benefits from the Shu family. The father even needs to use coercion to make the daughter marry. In my opinion, he is no stupid pig, even a pig is cuter than him. Yang Chen seriously shook his head. Lin Ruoxi did not care about Yang Chen's reaction, and continued with, the Shu family's Shu Zihong has always been pestering me, but I'm not willing to go against the Shu family. After all, the Shu family is one of the top 5 strongest families in Shanghai. We can't afford to offend them, therefore you decided to marry me, getting rid of that Shu family's brat from having any more ideas, first getting through that obstacle, then thinking of a way to take back the real estate from your stupid pig of a father. That's right, Lin Ruoxi wearily nodded. In recent days, her mind has been boggled over this problem. A young lady nearly in her 20s, already carried such a heavy burden. Yang Chen sighed and said, geez, this idea of yours cures the symptoms but not the disease. In the end you still have to face pressure from the Shu family and your father, that indecent thing. I'm not able to care about that, I can only take a step at a time. Although Lin Ruoxi's voice was very soft, her tone was incomparably determined. Yang Chen stood up, picked up his brand new phone, and quietly headed towards the door.
Lin Ruoxi frowned and said, where are you going?
I'm going to a bar, to look for women. Yang Chen looked back with a face full of seriousness. Chapter 18. Bar Street is extraordinarily quiet during the day, with only a few cats and dogs prowling the streets. Very few people and vehicles pass by, which is a stark contrast to the hustle and bustle at night. Yang Chen pushed open the main door to Rose Bar, and greeted the napping bartender Little Zhao. Then strolled directly to the passage at the back of the bar. Several of the waiters, who noticed the arrival of Yang Chen, did not obstruct him, and instead greeted him with respect. They clearly knew the relationship between Yang Chen and Rose was not ordinary. The passage behind the bar was strangely over 50 meters long. At the end of it, stood 2 tall men in suits, guarding the exquisite wooden door 3 meters behind them. When the 2 noticed it was Yang Chen that came, they neatly bowed immediately, and followed with a welcome gesture. Yang Chen nodded, walked forward to the flower-carved wooden door and opened it. A natural fragrance burst forth from the inside, bringing with it a slight scent of lavender. This is a surprisingly humongous room, with smooth brown parquet flooring, black marble walls, and in the middle was a huge 7-foot-wide bed on a leather frame. Coffee-colored decorations gave the room some dark charm, revealing a somewhat low-profile elegance. On one side of the room is a full glass door, outside the glass door, is an open-air swimming pool and a small garden. It's difficult to imagine that at the back of a noisy bar is actually a quiet sanctuary. Here is Rose's home. From the moment he entered the room, Yang Chen subconsciously felt a chill, and at the same time without hesitation, he stretched his right hand out to parry. Who? A sharp sound cut through the air. A white hand wielding a sharp and cold dagger suddenly appeared 3 inches away from Yang Chen's face, but it was perfectly blocked. With the sneak attack blocked, the dagger in that hand rotated in a flash, and with a movement as smooth as flowing water, it once again pierced towards Yang Chen's ribs. Yang Chen leisurely stuck his hand to that smooth warm arm, gently gripped it, and pushed it outwards. The hand wielding the dagger was no longer able to move an inch closer to Yang Chen's body. The sneak attacker realized that she did not have enough strength, and lifted her small foot to strike the back Yang Chen's waist. Unexpectedly, as if he had foreseen all these movements, Yang Chen pushed down the arm with the dagger in one move. The small foot wasn't completely raised yet, but the dagger had already turned into a weapon blocking the foot's path. I'm not playing anymore. Rose unhappily pouted, and casually tossed the dagger on the floor. It's always the same, I really don't know how a monster like you trained, you're even younger than me yet your skills are so sick. Yang Chen released Rose's soft arm, that delicate feeling made it difficult to part with. He then turned around with an expression of a smile yet not a smile and said, not bad, much quicker than last month, this improvement rate is considered extremely fast. But in front of you, I still lose in one move. Rose rolled her eyes at Yang Chen, and gracefully sat on the huge bed. As this was her room, Rose was dressed in an incomparably casual fashion, wearing a white lacy nightgown made of silk, that loosely covered her seductive figure. The V neckline on her chest is raised high by a plentiful twin peaks. From the cleavage a black chiffon bra is spotted, struggling to hold onto the two lumps of pink flesh. The lower half of the nightgown is surprisingly short, and only covered he. Yang Chen's gaze involuntarily moved towards the area between Rose's thighs. Springtime sultriness rippled from there. It was actually also a pair of black chiffon panties. Vaguely, a few strands of black grass appeared before his eyes. Yes, black grass, I triple-checked. Rose's eyes revealed pride. Due to certain reasons, this man who made her so devoted had been trying to keep distance, but presently it seemed like he does not have much resistance against her body. While secretly happy in her heart, she throws an even more flirtatious gaze, with limpid eyes that could hook souls away. Yang Chen. Is Big Sis pretty? Pretty. Yang Chen swallowed his saliva. He felt his little brother had completely turned high-spirited and valiant. God must have made a mistake. This woman must have come from hell. Didn't they say only devils have such a figure? Wanna touch? Rose blinked. With one hand she slowly pushed the strap off, revealing a white and tender chest. Her pair of thighs also spread a little, allowing the hazy beauty at the base of her legs become a little clearer. Yang Chen sucked in a deep breath. Despite him having seen a numerous amount of beauties, and the even more world-breaking beautiful face of his wife, Lin Ruoxi, the Rose in front of him was still top grade despite her beauty being slightly inferior. Even without mentioning that charming temperament, that figure was such a ripe peach. The current Rose was like a red rose exuding a fragrance with sweet nectar that causes dizziness. The last sentence may look a little silly, as Rose's actual name is a species of rose. In Chinese it's Changwei aka Rosa multiflora. Yang Chen slowly approached till he's right in front of Rose, and slowly leaned towards her. He stared deep into Rose's enchanting peach flower eyes, and suddenly made a naughty laugh. Big sister Rose, I really want to touch, but if I do, you wouldn't grab a dagger and chop off my hand, would you? Am I able to chop it? Rose charmingly said. You're too alluring, my bones are all turning soft. Perhaps at that moment I would be powerless. Then would you like to try? Rose licked her lips, and said with a lazy and sultry tone. Yang Chen sucked in a breath of Rose's smell which seemingly exuded a flowery aphrodisiac, but revealed exceptionally clear eyes. Is there anything I need to do in exchange? Right after those words, Rose's originally seductive eyes lost all color, and instead revealed some disappointment, rejection, pain, and resentment. The myriad of complicated feelings suddenly made Rose laugh crazily. Haha, Yang Chen, so this is what you see me as. What do I see you as? Yang Chen playfully laughed. Do you feel that the reason I keep trying to seduce you to bed, is to make use of your strength to help achieve my goals? Rose forthrightly said. That's right, your strength is frightful. I've never met someone who is able to show me the meaning of invincible like you do, Rose said while slipping her blouse strap back on, once again covering the beautiful exposed skin. She faced Yang Chen and softly said, at the same time, I need you. Despite the appearance my Red Thorns Society and my father's West Union Society being the two biggest underworld gangs in the West, fact is my Red Thorns Society is still too young. If we truly go all out against each other, the West Union Society might lose a portion of its people, but our Red Thorns Society will definitely be completely annihilated. Speaking till this point, Rose's lovely face reveals some cold allure. Yang Chen, do you remember the night we first met? That night, I was ambushed, and my nearby subordinates were all wiped out. I was alone desperately trying to escape on the streets. Yang Chen quietly listens and nods slightly. In his mind, the scene of that night also gradually surfaces. Chapter 19. At the break of dawn, only a wolf fang-like moon hangs in the sky, but at this moment the fanged moon seems scarlet. On a quiet street in the western region, an exhausted figure fiercely flees out of an alley. She wore tight leather clothes that outlined her perfect curves. At this moment there were several cuts on her arm, with dark red blood seeping out. She holds a cold dark dagger tightly in her hand, which looks grim yet bright under the moonlight. The residual blood on it is proof that it recently stabbed into somebody's flesh. "Miss, there's no need to run anymore," a deep voice was transmitted from the warehouse in front of the woman. At the same time, the woman stops her tracks and warily stares at the numerous shadows walking out. There are at least 10 of them. The leading man's head is bandaged, with a very rough face, wearing a big black coat, toying with a locally made Glock 37 pistol in his hand, blocking the road ahead without hurry or delay. "Miss, your skills are indeed terrifying, having never missed a bullet, killing off 30 of our brothers all by yourself, and still able to flee until here." The man slowly said emotionlessly. "However, miss, the ambush we specifically set up for you has long anticipated this, so we waited for you to run out of bullets, and so now we have appeared. Black Bear, I've treated you well in the past, why must you collude with my father to go against me?" The woman breathlessly pants. After consecutively killing tens of enemies, her subordinates were already wounded or dead, and she too is completely spent. The man code-named Black Bear laughs out loud. "Miss, it doesn't matter what disputes happened between you and boss. Black Bear's life was given by boss, naturally I would loyally do gang master's bidding. Big Miss has been kind to me in the past, but from the moment Big Miss left West Union Society to establish Red Thorn Society, Miss has become boss's enemy. Therefore, you are naturally my enemy, and there's no space for affection left. My father is autocratic, and does business devoid of conscience, even the underworld is ashamed by him. He also doesn't treat all of you well, in his eyes, all of you are just the dogs he is raising, so many elders and brothers are willing to quit with me, why are you so persistent and stubborn?" The woman knows she already no longer has the strength to withstand the gunfire of more than 10 people, and could only make her final attempt to persuade them. Black Bear shakes his head, expression as cold as before. "Miss, before I send you off, I'll give you one sentence. A triad can be inhuman, but still must be loyal." The moment the words were spoken, Black Bear stretches out a finger ahead. The many men behind him raises their firearms, with their muzzles pointing at the woman 10 meters ahead. In that life and death moment, at the time when all gunners are ready to pull the trigger, a ghost-like magnetic male voice appears in everybody's ears. "Hey bros, it's fine that you all were disturbing me watch the moon, but you can't possibly be intending to have more than 10 men shoot at a girl, right? When it comes to men shooting women, other than the gun below, you're not supposed to casually use any other. Everybody look. She's so beautiful." Within the words, is a voice full of regret. "Who are you?" Black Bear vigilantly looked all around, yet he couldn't even find a shadow. The woman who originally awaited her death suddenly widened her eyes, watching at the space above in disbelief. A figure falls from the sky like a ghost in front of the dozens of gunmen, just like a vampire in European myths, in the enchanting moonlight, quietly opening their huge black bat wings, and extending their sharp claws. I'm Batman. This is a young man with a face that seems a little lazy, a little jocular, a little curious, but most of all, is disdain. Black Bear doesn't like this type of gaze, but his bones produce a trace of fear. "What are you?" The young man does not reply, and instead turns his head to ask the woman, "If I help you take care of them, can you promise me one thing?" "I can, no matter what it is." The woman's pale face from blood loss turns a little red at this moment. She could imagine what a man would want after saving a woman, including sacrificing her own body, but right now she doesn't have any other choice. Even she does not understand why she believes this strange unarmed man can save her feeble life from the dozens of gunmen. "It doesn't matter who you are, you must die." Black Bear was angry, he hates being ignored, and was the first to point his gun at that man. Bam! At the same time the gunfire appears in the muzzle, the man disappears. When he reappears, one of the man's hand is already gripping onto Black Bear's head, and he lightly twists it. Caw! Caw! Black Bear feebly falls to the ground, with both eyes angrily open, full of disbelief and dissatisfaction. He did not even have the time to react, and his neck was already broken. All the other black-clothed gun-wielding men were frightened. The society has numerous skilled people. Black Bear, who emerged from the underground boxing world, was mysteriously killed while pulling the trigger. How did this stupid bear say it earlier? That's right. I'll give you people one sentence, something like bullets, is only effective against weaklings. The moment the man finished speaking, his body once again turns into a blur, charging into the dozens of men in the dark. Every time he nears one, he hits one. His hand might be smacking the head, or pinching the neck, or even punching the chest. As long as a man is hit, that man instantly falls to the ground. The woman watching this scene close by struggles to understand what was happening. Only by looking at the wounds of these thugs, they unexpectedly all died instantly by inhuman deaths, either by crushed heads, broken necks, or shattered chests. If at the point of this man's arrival the woman imagined this man in front of her as a hero saving a beauty, then at this moment, this man in front of her is simply the god of death. That's right, she has been saved by a death god like man, and even agreed to whatever he requests. In fact, at that moment this woman was thinking, even if she did not agree in the beginning, she still felt that she couldn't resist against him. A human may say no to other humans, but can't say anything close to no to a god. After ending this battle without any suspense in breath, the young man claps his hands and slowly walks towards the woman. Under the moonlight, he grins, as if he does not feel anything he should from the slaughter he just did. My name is Yang Chen, what's your name, beautiful? Rose. Rose said absent-mindedly. Rose, good name. Yang Chen laughs, scratching his head with an embarrassed expression, air. Miss Rose, I'm going to state my request. Please say. Rose lowered her head, preparing herself for getting slaughtered, with her heart involuntarily beating faster. Yang Chen seriously said, Miss Rose, I hope you don't speak to anyone about what happened today. I don't want to get into trouble with a gang, I beg you. Beg. He is begging me. Rose raises her head in shock. In this moment, as if the world froze over, only the man in front with the awkward smile is left, with a trace of honesty, and a trace of warmth.